Hello, here we are again with Muki Tenenbaum. We are exploring through these videos his philosophy, his disillusionism, and his misalgic theory about human behavior. And as we do every week, we've been doing this for a while now, we are going to try and analyze part of the news, part of what's happening today from a philosophical point of view in a way to illustrate the ideas pertaining to this system. We are now in mid-March 2021, and we are going to take a bit of news that could be considered light in comparison to other issues we have discussed in the past, but that will allow us to analyze from a disillusionist point of view matters of taste. What happens when we like and dislike something, and how do illusions interfere with this? So this is our weekly video on the news.
Well, the news of the week were quite unusual in the middle of this crisis, and that was Meghan's Markle interview with Oprah, and the thing of that article of that interview that made me think was when she says that the Royal House of Windsor does not like brown people or black people, or they dislike. In fact, she was not saying they're racist. She did not use those words. Of course, every interpreter took it to that way, but she talked about like dislike. And I said, wait, what's the problem of liking or disliking? And the first thing, let me remind everybody, we're talking about the misalgic theory. That means we run away from suffering. And one of the most evident suffering is dislike, okay? So let's say, let's take for a very good example. You have meat that it's rotten, okay? The smell, the taste is repugnant. We dislike it. We do not eat it. Why? Because those animals who did eat it, and they were not, they were not hyenas, died from poisoning. So that dislike is ingrained in our taste and helps us survive. In fact, there is even the fact that we may like or dislike different things. So I dislike olives or grapefruits. Or even most fishes or chicken. I'm a difficult person. I really dislike a lot of things. And here in my description of olives and grapefruits, I know that we share this dislike together. But of course, some people like them, some people dislike them. There is, of course, an evolutionary advantage to that. And that if we don't eat the same things, there is more food for everybody. If everybody would like exactly the same thing, we would have a problem. And so, of course, when we're talking about disliking or liking, we have two reasons, two good evolutionary reasons to like or dislike. So like and dislike in taste, like and dislike in smell, like and dislike in aesthetics, yes, are ingrained in us, and that's how we are made. This is computer number one, the body, yes, the animal part in us. Then we have some things that we do there is a difference of there is a participation of the intention. Let's say wine. Okay, I mean, if you give wine to a 2-year-old child or to me, it will taste terrible. Why? Because as you probably know, it has alcohol, and that means it's rotten. Yes, it's rotten grapes. Wine, it's rotten grapes. Let's be serious about it. There's no argument about it. But what? But if you like the effects of wine, then of course you will drink even if you don't like it. And I would say that after a time, you will start develop a taste for it. You know the taste developing argument. Yes. Oh no. This you have to develop a taste. Well, I can live without that. I still could prefer to eat dulce de leche or bread or a good piece of steak and not have wine, for example.
Yeah, but we even call them acquired tastes, don't we? There's a whole area for.
Yes, it's not purchased taste is acquired. even things. And we may like even things like caviar, which probably is not exactly a taste that you have as a child. And the child is a good way to know it, because that's when you are an animal. That's when you are not, you have not sophisticated taste. But this is the taste, the smell, there is other things. So first of all, what do you think about this, Florencio, this description of?
I think we are still very close, as you said, to the animal core of human behavior. We are, even with this sophistication of acquired tastes, even when there is some sort of planning ahead and forethought that might make us think of a second computer, says, okay, I'll swallow this because I will get drunk. It's still very close to the animal functions of the body and very close to the evolutionary imperatives. I think what we are discussing today is much more sophisticated, that the problems the royal house might have with the skin color of a child belong in a higher level of analysis.
Of course, but when we're talking about this level of analysis, one thing is for sure, nobody argues. There is no problem. Nobody will come and say, sir, what do you mean you don't like? And that happens sometimes. You say, you don't like olives? Really? But it's a quirk. They don't think that you're a worse person because you don't like olives, unless you're an olive importer. But in general, you don't mind, yes? Of course, there is also, you see, with wine and alcohol, there is this issue that you may, by not liking alcohol, really frown upon their addiction to alcohol or whatever people have. But in general, it is okay. It is accepted. That means different in taste are universally accepted. This is fantastic. We have but that's when we're talking about the food itself or the thing itself. Now wait, because then you have the issues when you have your first computer, the animal, yes, it says I don't like the taste of wine, and then the one that foresees says yes, but wait, you'll see, but you would like the effect of it, and then computer number one gets accustomed to it, and then start drinking wine and telling you about the how do you say, the aroma of nuts and the spring in the wine. I know I'm making fun of it, but that's because I don't like it. But of course, everybody, there is no argument about it. Really, even in the worst dictatorships, nobody will claim to you don't like olives. You are going to be censored, or you are going to be going to prison. This is important because that's where we get there. Now comes for example, an allergy. Yes, I eat strawberries, I get an allergy, and then I can make a decision: do what is worse, giving up strawberries or having an allergy? And I will make a decision, a misalgic decision, in which I will decide which of the two sufferings is more important than the other. Now, here, the issues that we will speak is not about my own sufferings between them, yes, but between me and others people's suffering. This is when comes the arbitrage, the way in which the state illusion will try to make a way in where we can both the different kind of sufferings can live together. But we'll get there with the next one. And this is when we're talking about sexual preferences. Okay? If I say, I will never have sex with a gay man, or I will never have sex with a man, it's a very different thing. No, I'm talking, it's really the same thing. Yes, I will never have sex with a man with a beard. I said I would never have sex with a man in general. Beard, no beard, old, young, I'm not attracted. To the point that I will not get an erection. When we're talking about physical thing, we go back to olives, yes, or even further, rotten fish. There is repugnancy to it. Somebody will say it's cultural, maybe, but I still don't like it. And even if I want to, even if my ideal says I should, it won't work.
What I guess is the problem at this level is that my distaste for olives has no victims other than your imaginary olive importer that suffers because I don't eat them. When what I dislike is an inanimate object, there's no one to suffer. It's just my suffering being considered from a misalgic point of view. When the dislike entails another person or a group of people, I think now we have a sort of clash, an imbalance between different misalgic pools, because it's my suffering against their suffering. And this is the level where I think it gets trickier.
Well, but imagine if I would say, let's say a gay man who wants to have a sexual encounter with me, and I would say, I'm sorry, I don't have sex with gay men, and he will be offended. Still, I mean, I don't think anybody will say no. Well, you have to. One time you can say no, and one time you have to say yes. I mean, if you want to balance, it's not what we're talking about. Why? Because we have computer, number one, the animal at work. You can't force the animal to do things. Especially, you cannot have I use the word erection because it's really totally involuntary. It's either it works or it doesn't. Then there is, but look, there are even ideal things that are permitted. Let's say a woman wants to get married with me, and I'm a bachelor, and she's Muslim, or she's Christian, or she's Jewish. It doesn't matter which religion. I am from the other religion, and I say no, I don't want to get married with a person of a different religion. Either you convert to my religion, yes, or I look for somebody of my own religion. I want to raise my children Jewish, Christian, atheist, Buddhist, or whatever I want. That is totally accepted, almost everywhere. There is no argument about it. Well, now we're talking about we're talking about an ideal issue, and the other person really gets offended. Why will I discriminate? And here comes the word. I discriminate when the person have a different religion. So you see, now we're not talking anymore about the body. There is no body involved in this. It is, but that is acceptable. But if I say I don't go out with fat women, then we start having a problem. If I say I don't go out with fat men, then again, I don't go out with men. I'm not trying to split here hairs. This is not about that. It's not about showing the mistakes. What I'm saying is there's certain things, for some reason we don't know about it, that certain way of discrimination in which taste is gone, because it's not a question of taste. It's not that I don't like to be with a Muslim woman because taste. It's all in my mind. It's all happening inside of my mind, in which I can make a choice, and that is accepted. But look, if you, on the other hand, say I won't go out, or I won't marry with a black woman, that is forbidden. That's not okay. Some cases will be illegal, some cases will be immoral. It doesn't matter. It's not acceptable. How do we get there? How do we ever get into the situation in which the House of Windsor would say, I don't want to marry into any other religion? Because the Queen, in fact, is the head of the Anglican Church, and she cannot get married with a Catholic or with a Jew. She can't. She doesn't want to. That is acceptable. But if it's black, no. If it's and again, imagine yourself gay marriage. I'm talking about now between gays. Yes, I'm not talking. So what happens? Why do we do that? And somebody will say, well, it's because we have a whole story of discrimination against black people or against Chinese. Or here, I want to be clear. It could have been the other way around. We could be speaking about a house of a king in Malaysia who doesn't want to get married to a Christian wife. But the issue is when that happens, that certain tastes are permitted, certain things of taste are permitted, others are accepted, and the other one are simply frowned upon or legally persecuted.
I was meaning to ask you, because I think there's a difference here too. We understand, I think everyone understands when a line of action is prohibited or frowned upon. But I think we are going beyond actions. We are speaking about states in which it's a word or not even a word. It's simply an omission or even a thought. feeling that the queen rejected someone is already enough for censorship. It's already enough for getting into the argument. It's not that we are legislating or socially condemning actions per se, but I think it's also a wider range at that level. We are beginning to consider things that are not done, things that are said, and even, I guess, things that are being thought. So I think this is also an expanding area for the problem at hand.
Yes, but when we're talking about from our side, from misalgic, we run away from suffering. People feel that if somebody says, I don't want to go out with a black woman because I don't like her, because I don't want, and it makes me suffer, then what are we talking? In the same line, she could say, I would don't go out with a Muslim. It doesn't matter. And the two things, one is accepted, the other one is not. Yes. So why the balance shifts on one direction instead of shifting on the other? Now, I may be giving ideas to people and say, now from now on, you will have to, every time you go out, you have to go to, from every 10 women, 2 have to be Muslims, 1 have to be fat. Yes. Or having a, and again, I'm not making fun of at all of what people feel. The rejection. Rejection is bad for a black, for a white, for a fat, for a tall. Nobody likes to be rejected. This is a suffering in common. This is like rotten food, like rotten meat. But the question is, why do we don't accept it? Okay, if somebody comes to, I come to the home of somebody and they serve me a plate of olives, and I say I don't like olives. Yes, why don't you eat? Because I really don't like olives. If I say I'm allergic to olives, it's perfect, of course. Yes, and in fact, people go around and like so. Rejection, even in olives, is a problem. When is the suffering of rejection becomes an enforceable, or even a scorn, or being seen in a negative light?
I think this takes us back to a concept you have already introduced in these videos. I think there's a video, even a short video about it, which is the way in which we sync to each other, right? So there is a sort of arbitration going on.
You mean sync? You say sync, not stink. Sync. No. I was not.
No. How do we synchronize with each other in everyday behavior? And I guess there is a sort of arbitration with what it is that makes me suffer and what it is that makes you suffer, without which, in most cases, we would be unable to relate to each other. We would be unable to function together. But I see what you mean when you say that there's a shift when this arbitration has to happen, because it's not always the same thing. It's as if there were different standards. You have to tolerate this, but you don't need to tolerate that. You have to suffer me. You have to bear with me in this, but not necessarily on that. I think it's a tricky aspect of interaction.
Well, nowadays it's not about toleration. It's about acceptance. You see, it's even worse. Because when you tolerate, by the word tolerate means I'm suffering. It says that you have to accept something that you don't control. You don't control your taste, even if it's cultural. Even if it was your parents who told you black people or Romanian people or Argentinian or fat people are bad. Doesn't matter what. Now, today, this is your taste. And it's, of course, if you're taking somebody to work on a job and you don't take it because they're black, not because they're useless ability-wise, then we're talking about something specific, the possibility of suffering, a higher suffering. But when we are saying that I'm an airline and I'm not taking a blind person as a pilot, there is no issue. But this is exactly the point. When we get into the practical areas, yes, there is an acceptance. But today, what I feel, and here comes the final line, is there is a lot of anger because things are not clear. You are trying to make me like olives. You remember You remember the 1984 ends with the line, and finally he liked the Big Brother.
The Big Brother.
They want you to love Big Brother, and that's impossible. That's not going to happen, and it creates resentment because you are asking me to suffer because you don't want to suffer.
Interesting take on misalgia. I'm sure we'll go back to this and other subjects. Thank you. Till next time.
If you enjoyed the video, please like it, comment and subscribe.